What's going on, everyone? Silverback here, and welcome back to more Outriders. Now, today's quest is to share with any of the tricksters out there a pretty decent build for expeditions that can allow you to do 1 million damage per shot. Now, you guys are going to have to bear with me. I apologize in advance, but my voice is a little raspy because I got sick in the past couple of days. But either way, we're going to go ahead and try to give you guys this guide on a trickster build if you're looking for one for endgame for those expeditions. Now, if you're looking for more Outriders content, guides, endgame builds, legendary farming, and more, feel free to subscribe for those. We'll be doing a lot more content as the days go by, and I definitely don't want you guys to miss out on that. So in order to keep up with those, again, all you got to do is tap that subscribe button. Now, thank you so much for becoming a subscriber, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first and foremost, I want to get this out of the way and say that yes, with this build, you'll be able to get some shots that do 1 million plus on non-elite enemies, while following the same process can do around 700 to 800,000 on an elite. This is not a build where you're going to be able to take an assault rifle or an SMG and do 1 million plus per shot, because of course that would be very game breaking. Also, on a side note, the damage may vary based on your gear and level, of course, but this is one of the best trickster builds I have used for those tough expedition levels. So if you feel that you're having trouble keeping up with the damage for the trickster class, this may very well help. All right, starting with the class tree, our focus will be mainly on weapon, close range, and shotgun damage buffs under the assassin tree. So feel free to pause the video at any time to copy the class, but I will point out some important things about it. Disruptive firepower and outrider execution give us 50% weapon damage boost each when using a deception or movement skill. This will be important for our rotations, especially when going up against elites or expedition bosses. Bounty Hunter will increase weapon damage against elites by 15%, which of course is important because, as some of you may be aware, eliminating an elite as fast as possible during the expedition is very important, and this is most likely when we will be doing this. Oddity Summation increases our magazine size by 50%, which is going to be super critical for elite fights, as we'll only be using a pump shotgun and our twisted rounds will wear off when reloading, so of course the more we can have, the better. Now, moving on to skills, which are at the core of this build, we have the Venator's Knife, Twisted Rounds, and Hunt the Prey. Each, besides damage, will cause us to receive a buff when used based on the class tree that we selected. However, understanding the rotation is going to be what's most important. First, Venator's Knife is used and can bounce between 7 enemies, marking them all for 10 seconds. Within that 10 seconds is when we want to focus on headshots only, as the first damage dealt is going to be doubled by our Venator's Knife. Now, considering we have a shotgun, headshots are critical shots and our damage is doubled, we have the opportunity to deal some very serious damage. Now, with Twisted Rounds equipped, after we mark our enemies, we want to use those twisted rounds on the pump shotgun to hit headshots only. So our process is to activate Twisted Rounds, mark enemies with a Venator's Knife, then use Hunt the Prey to get close but also receive a damage boost. I also want to point out here, and I'll speak about it a little bit later, that I do have a mod for Hunt the Prey that makes sure that when you use Hunt the Prey, you actually get some shield. So that's going to be very important for the survival aspect of this build, but also going to be important for, you know, if you do Hunt the Prey on an elite because you're trying to get that headshot in, you want to make sure that you have a little bit of a safety net, and you know, that way you don't die right away and your team basically hates you. Now, after our first elimination, if the enemy is not an elite, your goal is to go around and get all of the other enemies that are tagged with Venator's Knife while you can. This should easily allow you to kill most mobs as a trickster and is pretty fun to do as well. For the most part, if I'm running expeditions solo as a trickster, this is what I rely on heavily to one-shot most enemies and down elites very fast. Now, of course, I did mention previously that pump shotguns are your best friend, and most of you may be wondering about full auto shotguns. I will admit this was my first go-to for this build, but because they are fully automatic, you deal way less damage and find yourself constantly trying to reload, not only one-shotting enemies, and your Venator's Knife will wear off pretty quickly while you're trying to reload. With 9 rounds in your pump shotgun, you should be able to take out a mob or two, get back to safety, and wait for the reset. The shotgun I am using for this is Marksman Zax, which I bought from a vendor at the Outriders camp, but it's honestly perfect because of the weapon life leech and healing received. Now, one thing that I do want to point out here, and you'll see in some of the gameplay, is that usually I am using Hunt the Prey and I'm going right into a mob and I'm staying alive, which is really rare for a trickster class, just because the only way the trickster really heals is if they kill an enemy. So most of the time you're trying to down that enemy as fast as possible and you're trying to stay alive because that will give you your heal. If you watch the gameplay that you see right here, I'm honestly just running full into these mobs and I'm always usually at full health, or at least near full health, and this is because of the weapon. So I think with this build, even if you can't find the exact marksman Zax if you can find a pump shotgun that has, and again, if it has weapon life leech on it, that's going to be super critical to this build. I've tried to run a separate pump shotgun that doesn't have weapon life leech, and honestly this build is still great, but as far as survival goes, I'm not allowed to stay in the mix of the battle all the time. So what I found is weapon life leech is going to be super important as an attribute for your weapon for the pump shotgun for this build. Now lastly, I would recommend that if you have some attributes like healing received and weapon life leech or close range damage, I would make sure that you go to the crafting and you upgrade all of the attributes for your pump shotgun, because again, these are going to be very important and you don't want to overlook that for any build. Okay, so moving on to mods, which of course can be very important for your skills during battle. I have eager edges to add more bounces to the Venator's knife, giving me 7 total, while I have 2 extra slugs in the shotgun. Dance of Death to reduce the Hunt the Prey cooldown, Twisted Fate to increase the crit damage by 30% when active, and then Anomaly Cut to do 37,000 damage to an enemy marked in blue blood for 10% more weapon leech with twisted rounds. Now of course, feel free to play around with these mods, but at the moment these kind of work for the build and they're what I found to work best. But again, if you guys play around with the mods and find something to be better, just go ahead and drop that in the comments below, and I'll probably be playing around with the mods a little bit more myself as I unlock more. But right now these work great, and of course they go along with the skills that we're already using. Lastly, you will find that this build is great for survival as well because of the Trickster's heal when an enemy is killed. So as you one-shot every mob near you, you'll constantly be healing a lot. This was a big issue I found with the Trickster class when using an assault rifle or SMG. Now as I mentioned before, that weapon life leech for the pump shotgun for this class does wonders, because again, you're going to be very close range. You're always going to be trying to get those headshots from the Trickster class, so you're always going to be close to the enemy. So having that extra shield from your Hunt the Prey, and then also healing your Trickster anytime you shoot with that pump shotgun, is going to heal you a lot. So all that mixed together is going to make this build also a great build for surviving more. Now I found myself in situations after switching to this build where I'm playing with a Technomancer and a Pyromancer, and honestly not only am I keeping up with damage or doing a little bit more, but I'm also the person that's staying alive the most, which is honestly pretty weird because it never used to be like that when playing with the Trickster. Usually the Technomancer is always up because any damage he does, he heals. And then of course with the Pyromancer, you have that insane healing skill. So with that being said, with this build I am surviving a lot better, and I'm also picking a lot of my teammates up who just happen to be dying a lot more than I am. So there we have it, a very good damage dealing slash survival build for the Trickster class. As stated before and shown in the video, I have reached shots that do around 1 million plus the regular mods on a tier that is difficult to me. So if you give the build a try, I'm sure you'll find out just how much fun it is and how useful it can be. Now if you're watching this and you play the Trickster and you have an even better build, or you have an alternate build that you found that works really well, now what you can do is actually put that in the comments below and let us know, and maybe I'll go ahead and try it out, and if it works really well, I'll go ahead and do a video and let others know, and then of course give credit where credit is due. Now for more Outrider guides, tips, and tricks, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for becoming a subscriber. My name is Silverback, our quest is complete, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.